Welcome back. The Information and Communication Rights in Africa Regional Conference just concluded last week in the capital Windhoek. The regional conference seeks to contribute to ongoing efforts towards combating the major challenges affecting digital rights, access to information, freedom of expression and media in Africa. The three-day conference was attended by participants from 16 African countries. Now, to give us an overview is the regional is the regional resident director of Fesmedia Africa, Freya Gruenhagen. Freya, good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, Nina. Very good evening.
Thank you so much for joining us. Perhaps to start with, you can just, give us an overall view of the just ended conference.
Yes, I mean, a few things you already indicated. You said 50 participants from 16 countries convened here in Windhoek for 3 days almost, plus 20 participants from Africa. Basically, we had invited media practitioners and researchers or academics, and of course human rights advocates. We deliberately chose these participants as a starting point for a enhanced regional debate, but we also actually accommodated a parliamentarian from Tanzania and even an ENIC commissioner from South Africa. So I mean, enhanced regional cooperation has already taken off, and I should also mention, of course, that the conference was co-hosted by the Special Rapporteur of Freedom of Expression and Access to Information in the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Honorable Commissioner Girisha Topsy-Sono, and we partnered with the Namibian Media Trust, headed by Zoe Titus, and of course with the UNESCO head office in Windhoek, Jafar Musa Al-Kadou.
Fantastic. What were some of the major challenges that came to the fore in terms of, facing African countries when it comes to promoting and protecting information and communication rights?
Oh, the challenges are enormous, but I think what the conference really stressed a lot was the universality of internet access and meaningful connectivity. Because the penetration rate as it stands is, internet penetration rate stands at 46% approximately, but some countries only have 2% or even less. And then again, meaningful connectivity means that even remote areas are accessible.
Correct.
And then of course the digital divide, etc., etc., etc. Many.
What role does social media and of course other digital technologies play in advancing or even hindering information and communication rights on the continent?
It's actually a very ambivalent role, because on the one side they have been really empowering or even enabling access to information, in that they provide new channels and sources for information and chance to express yourself and even organize politically. So quite a democratizing approach on the one hand. On the other hand, of course, they have come with huge issues in terms of privacy, the right to privacy. It has been infringed quite substantially, especially due to the enormous collection of data and the lack of control thereof.
You mentioned, you briefly just touched on the digital divide earlier, and I want to know how African countries can promote, digital inclusion, and of course that ensuring that marginalized groups would have access to information and communication technologies.
Yes, as a very first starting point, we have to look into the cost, because the cost of data is too high here in Africa. You can just not ensure universal access to internet on that basis. And why is it so high? Definitely because of the commercial power of online platforms, and then of course of big tech. So this is a huge challenge that African governments are facing, but there are solutions at hand, quite ready-made solutions. There is local tech available. It's just a matter of developing policies to support them, to enable them, find their feet on the ground, and then work towards servicing the people.
Of course, what's important is that African countries come together to solve and these challenges that we're faced with. So what are the solutions in terms of collaboration between African countries, to promote and protect ATI?
I think this ENIC conference that you just reported about is just a point in this regard. I would think that Africa is actually at quite an advanced stage, because a lot is already in place. We don't only have the Human Rights Declaration, we have the Declaration of Principles, we have the ACHPR, the AU model law. That is really a huge success that we can build on. So a lot is already available, and in terms of cooperation, there is a huge will. That came also out very, very strongly. Not only the need to cooperate, but actually the will to seek cooperation on all different kinds of levels. And you have UNESCO, I mean, they're organizing this conference there, and I think the role of the ACHPR has been crucial and will be crucial. And of course, a very strong civil society, even on the regional level. Look at AFRIC, look at APAI, look at MISA, all of them are like strongholds for media engagement.
Freya, can we look forward to another regional information and communication rights conference in Africa soon?
Well, maybe not next month. Definitely there is going to be a lot of follow-up events because the conference ended on a very strong and powerful note. That was the declaration. The declaration by all the participants, it has been endorsed, and it calls for a lot of engagement. It actually appeals to 8 different stakeholders, comes up with a quite clear roadmap on what needs to be done by each and every one of them. So, we have to follow up on that and meet regularly, take stock, where are we right now? I quite like what one participant said. He said, let's just try and pick up 3 of these bricks. And this declaration is 4 pages long, and it's very rich and intense. And even if we only move these 3 bricks, a lot will have been achieved. So we will make sure that this was going to happen.
Frau Gruenhagen, thank you so much for your time this evening, and all the best for the future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nina.
Well, there you have it. That was Freya Gruenhagen, who is the director for Fesmedia Africa, speaking to us about the just ended conference. We'll be right back shortly. WHO has been urging rational use of antibiotics for decades now, but questions arising is why is that, what is at risk, and what can governments and individuals do to preserve the efficacy of antibiotics for future generations? Dr. Hanan Dalki explains on Science in 5.
the first thing that people can do is try to take antibiotics only prescribed by your physician or your healthcare provider. That's the first thing. The second thing is complete the antibiotic course based on the instructions given by the clinician. And the third thing is make sure that you're not sharing an antibiotic with family or friends because it really needs to be given based on guidance, based on the specific signs and symptoms that each individual is experiencing. Certain viral infections, they really do not require antibiotics. When you do not complete your course of antibiotics, knowing that we have a bacteria that live on our skin, live in our gastrointestinal system, so exposing these bacteria to inefficient doses or incomplete doses of antibiotics only teases the bacteria and it allows it to develop mechanisms to become responsive to these antibiotics. So the risk is that we will start creating